Hey guys, what's up? This is Bharat, you're watching iGyaan, and today we are checking out the Redmi Note 10. Now this is a surprisingly interesting phone from Xiaomi or Redmi. It has come after a lot of requests from people, and just right here on the front of the box you can see that it has a FHD plus AMOLED dot display. Now this is something that's going to be really interesting for this price category because this is going to be the first AMOLED phone in this price category with this kind of resolution. You also have some other things which you're going to discuss when we do unbox this phone. So let's quickly go ahead and do that. Before we do that though, let's talk about the pricing. And this phone has been launched for a starting price of 11,999 for the 4GB plus 64GB variant, and 6GB plus 128GB variant is also available for 13,999. And the company's also launched the Redmi Note 10 Pro and the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max. So lots of names and different options to choose from. But we're checking out the Redmi Note 10 in this video, and we're also doing a Redmi Note 10 Pro Max video. So if you're interested in checking that out, we leave a link to that in the description below as well. So let's quickly go ahead and unbox it and see what the packaging is like. So the first thing inside the box is the phone itself, and you can see we've got it in this frost white color. It's a really interesting color because you do have a matte finish back on this device. It looks absolutely amazing, but I'm going to keep it to the side for the time being, and we're going to go further into this box and see what all we get. So you do get a SIM ejector tool, and you do get a silicone back cover as well, which is nice, and some basic information, so a user guide. You also do get this beefy charger inside the box. So this device will charge with a pretty fast charging as well. And we'll discuss all of that in a little bit. But you do also get a pretty high quality USB to USB-C cable. As you can see, it has that orange inside, which means that it does support fast charging. And that's basically everything from the box of the phone. So I'm going to keep the box aside. And before we get into anything further, let's look at how the cover fits on there. And is it easy to install? It doesn't seem to be very easy to install. So it's quite a snug fit, and you do have proper cutouts for the camera over here. So pretty nice fit, a clear case. If you want to keep your phone looking new, I would recommend that you start using this immediately out of the box. But let's remove this little sticker over here, and then let's take a quick look at the phone while it boots up. So this new design language, Redmi is calling it the Evol design, so EVOL, which is apparently love, not apparently, it is love spelled backwards, but that's their sort of design philosophy with these new designs. So I really do like this finish on the back glass. On the front, you do have a punch hole front facing camera, but the display is which is going to be the highlight. So it's a 6.43-inch display. It's a full HD plus display with a 2400 by 1080 pixel resolution. You also get 1100 nits of peak brightness, which is absolutely amazing. It's a super AMOLED display, and it's a dot display. So should be good in the long run. Of course, we'll have a review for all of this out later on, so you can stay tuned for that. But let's continue our overview of the device. So on the bottom, you can see a 3.5mm headphone jack, a microphone, USB-C charging port. You also have the speaker, and on the right side is the fingerprint sensor in the power button, and then you also have the volume buttons, and on the top of the device what appears to be a noise cancelling microphone, and then the secondary speaker, and then also the IR blaster. On the left is the SIM tray. Now this is a dedicated tray, so you do get 2 SIM card slots and a micro SD card. And on the back is your quad camera. So out of this, the main camera is the 48 megapixel camera. Now this is a Sony camera. It's the IMX582, and it has an f1.79 aperture. You also get two 2 megapixel cameras. One is a macro sensor and one is a depth sensor. And then you also get an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, which will have about 118-degree field of view. So that's what you have on the back. Plus you also have some LED flash over here. It says ultra premium with a red dot on the back. So I guess that's something that is totally unnecessary, but it's there. So during the setup, you can set up the fingerprint sensor as well. So I'm going to set in my super secure pin. And then you can set up the fingerprint by just tapping the power button So you can choose between the classic launcher and the app drawer. So whether you want to choose either of those, you can choose that during the setup, or you can do that later on also. So I'll stick with the classic for the time being. This is their get apps thing. I'm gonna skip this. Of course, you don't have to install any of these apps. So at least they give you an option to ask you whether or not you want any of these. And that basically is it. So right off the bat, there are some preloaded applications. So you can uninstall Facebook and LinkedIn and all if you want to do that. So at least you can remove some of this bloatware if you don't use it. And then according to Xiaomi or Redmi, some more of these apps, including some of the preloaded applications, would be able to be removed. So things like ShareMe, etc., you would be able to remove in a later update as well. Unfortunately, with security, you can't really control it, and you can't remove it. It's something that they continue to add on to their device. So that's something that you need to be aware of. But more importantly, the display looks pretty impressive. It's really fast and snappy, and it's got a pretty good hand feel as well. So it looks really nice, and it feels really nice in the hand. But let's talk about what powers this. So running everything is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 678. Now this is a 2.3 gigahertz octa-core CPU and an Adreno 612 GPU. You also have the Spectra 250L image processor. Now on the inside of this is also a 5000 mAh battery, and despite that, the phone is relatively lightweight, under 180 grams. Camera UI is of course very familiar. If you've used Xiaomi's phones, you would be very familiar with this camera UI. So you do have the 0.6x ultra wide, which I was talking about earlier. But let's look at what video options we do get. So let's go into the video mode. I believe you can shoot 4K, but only at 30 frames per second, and that is correct. And then you also have 1080p at 60 FPS, so that will be more something that people would be using. And then you also do have a full pro mode, and you do have the ability to shoot in 48 megapixel. So if you want to do that, you can do that, but I would obviously recommend that you shoot on the native settings, which would be the 12 megapixel of the main camera. So you do have a bunch of other things that Xiaomi does. So you do have the movie frame mode. You also have the grid and the macro settings over here. The macro is a 2 megapixel macro, and I'm not sure if you'd be able to use it in your day-to-day life as a 2 megapixel. I would recommend that you snap on a third-party lens on the back of this to get a better look. So the Redmi Note 10 is also IP53 rated. It's not fully water resistant, but it is splash resistant, and the fact that it is rated at this price category is pretty impressive in itself. Now there is a screen protector on the front, and the display does have Gorilla Glass 3 natively. On the back, there is no Gorilla Glass. It's some third-party glass. But according to Redmi, it's equivalent to Gorilla Glass, but there are several vendors, so they didn't really give us the name of a vendor. But there is no screen protector on the back, and the back glass is also something that will, if it does get damaged, will be a pretty expensive thing to replace. So I would recommend that you use the case that comes in the box or buy any other case that may be available for the device, because it is glass and it might get damaged if you do drop the device. Overall, it seems to be really snappy and a pretty interesting product from Redmi, especially the display in itself is pretty interesting in this price category. Of course, we're going to be reviewing it in depth in the coming days. So if you do have any particular questions about this device, you can drop them in the comment section below as well. Another few things that I did mention earlier as well, I'll just do a roundup. You do have stereo speakers. Let's quickly listen to them and see how they sound. Let's load an iGyaan video. When Apple originally launched the M1-based MacBook Pros and Macs, the understanding was that while on the lower end side of things, the M1 will replace Intel. So the audio is pretty clear and loud enough, and both the speakers are side firing. So you do get a really nice sound if you do hold the phone like this. I do feel that if you're gaming on this, it might get blocked off, especially if you hold your phone with a proper grip. Of course, we'll test all of that out in the full review and we'll get back to you. Like I said, if you do have any particular questions about this device, do drop them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already a part of Team iGyaan. It's been Bharat. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.